Hey, how's it going? I'm Alex Southey, and you are listening to another episode of Your Worst Song, but not quite. This was originally recorded earlier this year for my other podcast that you're probably hearing this and going, what other podcast? And that's kind of the beginning and the end of the story of that podcast. It was meant to be more general. It was meant to, hello Mabel, it was meant to free me from just talking about music, and I could talk with somebody who is a journalist or who is a, sketch comedy person or everything in between, a hairdresser, whatever. And I only did 1 or 2 episodes because I'm like that. And I decided that this episode should see the light of day at the very least, and it might be a good idea to just collapse everything into the Your Worst Song feed. And if you don't want to listen to it, if you don't want to listen to this, that's fine. Just skip it and wait until Monday, and it'll be, back to your regularly scheduled programming. But if you do, and you're interested in finding out a little bit more about other people and other walks of life, let's say, because that's actually the bigger goal for me, then keep an eye out for these bonus episodes. This is the only one I have planned to release right now, not because I don't want to do more, but because this is the only one fully recorded. But I'll definitely, it's really in my interest to do more. And even with the examples that I gave, sketch comedian would be cool, hairdresser would be really interesting, all the way to veteran, all the way to horse breaker, all the way to farmer, like whatever, painter. It would be interesting. So I hope people enjoy this one. It is with Max Farber, otherwise known as Farbsy online. I met him as Max when he was just pretty much focused on music. And as you'll hear, comedy was always an interest, and sketch and stuff was always an interest. But I met him as kind of his label was musician. And that was pre-pandemic. And then over the pandemic, I sort of saw him take off with this very comedically fertile sketch idea online. I think it was mostly TikTok, maybe it was Instagram, certainly both now, where he played a customer service rep, and the perspective was what you wish you could say to the customer who's being rude to you. And so it's all these quips where he hides his mic, and then he says what he really thinks, and then answers the way we all would try and be polite to the customer. That's kind of the joke, which is dead in the water after me explaining it like that. But I swear it's funny. Go check it out. Anyway, he was nice enough to let me re-upload this as part of this feed, so go support Max. Support his music, his bands, Doomsday Darling. Support his online sketches, whatever you want to call them, on Instagram, and support this podcast, all right? Thank you very much. You are listening to a bonus episode of Your Worst Song.
Show is tomorrow. No, sorry.
No, the show's Sunday, because people have been pointing out it's weird that it's SNL 50 and none of it's happening on Saturday.
But I think they're having like a concert or something is happening on Saturday.
It's a musical celebration, maybe by Questlove, sort of orchestrated by Questlove.
Questlove did the 50 years of like SNL music.
Okay.
It wouldn't shock me if he's also part of the concert.
Exactly.
Yeah,
or like the host or something.
Yeah, he's dipping his toes in everything. But with sketch comedy, like from a young age, really Mad TV was like my first kind of foray into like, oh, this is like really fun. Like I love what I'm seeing right now.
Why Mad TV over what is like objectively more popular? SNL was more popular, I'd say.
That's a really good question.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I don't know. I think like I just remember like watching TV and just like Mad TV was there.
I completely agree. Yeah. It seemed somehow more accessible, maybe because it wasn't this golden child like SNL is.
So, and like I almost feel like as a kid watching Mad TV, it was just more like it was more accessible and just more understandable to my like comedic brain at the time, even though like my brain was not anywhere what it's like now. Not to say that it's gotten any better, you know, but
just changed.
Like things like Miss Swan. Like the character
I don't
of Miss
remember
Swan,
Miss
like
Swan.
Alex Borstein.
Okay, yeah, of course I remember her.
Things like that, like I feel like I wouldn't see that on SNL back in the day.
No, I would say it was with clarity and retrospect, it was far edgier than anything SNL really did.
Like Bobby Lee and like all these like people that I still follow and are aware of today. And
totally.
I keep reminding myself, oh right, they got their start from Mad TV. Key and Peele.
Yeah, oh yeah,
You know,
that's
exactly.
the biggest thing. I would
There's
say.
so many people that I think a lot of people forget. Came from Mad TV.
Absolutely, and I feel like also the people who were on Mad TV were so multi-talented and multifaceted. Like you saw, Alex Borstein was on that, but also she's the harp or violinist on Gilmore Girls, and she also did the voice acting on Family Guy as Lois, right? So it was just a really cool mix of people.
They're wearing many hats.
Yes, they're wearing many hats.
And then when I started getting more into SNL, like I think SNL came right after I started watching Mad TV. Like I was really into Mad TV, but SNL came quickly after.
Okay.
And I knew, I was like, I think I can get on that show. My like 11-year-old brain was like, Lorne Michaels will hire a
of
child.
course. Yeah, wow.
It's like, why wouldn't he? And I would like take a video camera and like film sketches as like an 11-year-old kid. They were probably terrible, but I thought they were great, and I was convinced that Lorne Michaels would be like, this kid has it.
He just has to see it.
Like you, don't say anything else, kid.
Wow.
You're hired.
Wow.
And I knew, I was like, I just want to do something with comedy and just acting,
show business,
show business in general. Mm-hmm. And then when TikTok and Instagram, when Instagram really started becoming more of like a video first platform, but really more so with TikTok, when that came around, all my friends were like, dude, you need to post on this app.
Oh,
and I was like, oh, well, like I don't really know what to do because like I'm not a Gen Z and I don't dance. Like that was all TikTok was, at least for me when I first started using it.
Yeah.
I had my account for a year before I started even posting anything.
Oh, whoa.
Because I was just like, I don't really know what this app is. It's like crazy.
That's so bizarre to me because I feel like at least the thing you hear now, and this isn't the same as early TikTok, obviously, is you kind of, if you don't like take off instantly, then it's like, you don't want to look at a graveyard of a profile kind of thing.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. But I was nervous because everyone was like, dude, you have to post. You have to post. Like, this is
so
like,
there was already pressure from your friend circle, essentially. Yeah.
They were like, this is what you've been waiting for. Like, this is where you can do all the sketches you love. Like, you can make them and post them on this app. Like, this is what you can do with it. Like, fuck Lorne Michaels.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
like,
exactly.
This is what you can do.
Right.
And for a whole year, I just like kind of used the app. I didn't post. I just observed, essentially, just so I can kind of like get an understanding of what it was.
Yeah.
And the more time that I spent with it, the more I realized, okay, now it's less Gen Z's dancing, and now I'm getting like other sketch comedy like bits and all these things that really understand like it's what I'm looking for.
Yes, and in general, niches are taking off on there. Really,
exactly.
You know, everything from like ASMR to sketch comedy to the dancing still.
Exactly.
Thrives.
And I never started posting with the thought process of, oh, I'm gonna become big deal. I'm gonna get a lot of followers. I want to like be famous. Like
just that it was suitable to your sense of humor and
And I my whole goal with this is I just want to make people laugh and I want to make people's days a little bit better.
Yeah.
Because there's so much shit going on in the world that like it's nice to get away for a hot second and just laugh at something that can take your mind off of the shit that's going on.
I completely agree with you. No, and it was, you were doing that from the start once you started using it, but there were a few different sort of, the sketches were wider in form until you hit your stride with the idea, right?
Yeah, basically, I started posting just like random videos that I thought were funny. They didn't really have anything specific about them.
Right, no through line of subject. It was just anything you found
just
funny.
Like, oh, I was like, this could be interesting.
Yeah.
The first video I ever posted on TikTok actually does not exist anymore because I deleted it.
Okay.
Because at the time, I was working in sales. This sounds so weird to say out loud. I was selling hearing aids over the phone. Which is like,
okay, that's pretty funny, yeah.
So bizarre. It was a really fun job, and I was pretty good at it. I like to think I have a good personality for sales.
Yeah.
My main lines consisted of just like saying the same thing over and over again, but just louder.
Yeah.
For people, they'd be like, "What?" I'd be like, "We're looking at hearing," So it was that.
So it was a lot of seniors probably.
A lot of seniors,
Okay.
And I posted a video that is very similar to kind of the stuff I post now, which was a video of me being like, like here's what we say to customers.
Yeah.
And it's me being like, hey, Dave, I'm so sorry that I can't help you with your issue, but I understand the frustration. I'm going to see what we can do, and I'll be sure to reach out once I can help you.
Right.
And then it cuts to an even closer cut up of my face, and it says what we really want to say. And I'm like, Dave, listen, you're fucking 92 years old. You're probably going to die soon, you old piece of shit. So you know what? Maybe you should just be a good person and calm the fuck down. So it was that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I posted it, and it got like, I think maybe like 1,000 views. But I was like, I don't want my employer to see this, because they will fucking fire me.
Yeah. Good point.
So I took it down. I took it down.
Damn.
And then I was like, okay, I can't post work stuff, because if I do that, I'm gonna lose.
Yeah.
I'm never gonna get a job again.
Yeah, you can't do
know?
something that cuts that close to what you're
Exactly.
actually doing. Yeah.
So going back to music, I started posting videos of like, hey, I'm gonna sing this song, but I'm gonna sing the harmony. Duet this video with me, sing the melody, and let's sing together.
Right. Okay.
And I did that for a little bit, and I posted a video of The Sound of Silence. And I was like, hey, I'm going to
Simon
sing...
and Garfunkel.
Yeah, I'm going to sing Paul Simon's harmony, which most people don't sing when they sing The Sound of Silence. Everyone sings Art Garfunkel's
Yes,
part.
that's very smart.
Thank you.
You essentially went with the straight man part versus the more colorful.
Yes.
Like the other part is the show-offy one, so people want that one. So it's smart to make yourself the platform or the setting or
like
whatever you want to call it.
When you sing The Sound of Silence, you go, hello, darkness, my old friend.
Right.
You're not going to go, hello, darkness, my old friend.
I know. It took me so many listens to that because you're so attracted to the Garfunkel section. Once you do start paying attention to what Simon is doing, it's so monotonous throughout it.
But it's so simple.
Oh, it works
beautiful.
perfectly. It's beautiful. It would be worse if both parts were complex.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So the simplicity of it is really unique.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna sing the harmony
No,
and
that's
see if people do it. And a couple of people did, and then Dan Povenmire, who is the co-creator of Phineas and Ferb, duetted me twice.
Whoa.
For all the Phineas and Ferb fans, he is not only the co-creator, he also does the voice of Dr. Doofenshmirtz.
Oh, the best character,
which is,
I would
like,
argue, other than the
iconic.
platypus or whatever.
Perry the Platypus.
Yeah,
yes, correct.
yeah.
And he duetted me twice. Once he was singing by himself as he was like sketching out a picture of Dr. Doofenshmirtz.
Whoa.
And the second time he sang it as Dr. Doofenshmirtz.
Damn, that's pretty cool.
And I was like, oh my God.
And at that point, had you developed any sort of following other than what you could say is like, the people who know you in Toronto or Canada?
Yeah, I mean, at that point I had like maybe 2,000 followers.
Okay.
So like
decent, but
fairly
nothing you
decent,
expect to
Nothing
like
crazy.
blow up on or anything. Yeah.
And then that video was like my first real viral moment.
Oh, okay.
I think it got, I don't know what it's at now. I found it recently because people still duet it. To this day, and it's like
it's still
from
available
like
there.
4 or 5 years ago. Like it's from it's like the early days.
Yeah.
So if you stalk me enough, you'll find it. But I think that video got up to like 400,000 or 500,000 views, and that was where I was like, oh shit, this is what I have to do now, because my thought process was when you go viral for something, that's you. That's who you are now. You can't do anything else. So I was like, oh shit, okay.
It's like
I guess
being instantly typecast as something. Yeah,
it's like, I guess I'm the harmony guy now.
Right.
But like, I didn't, as much as I love music, I didn't want to be known as that guy. Because comedy and acting and sketch and all that stuff, that was really
a lot more satisfying for you. Yeah.
And it gave me a lot more creative freedom, because there's only so many songs that I could harmonize to that are like fun to sing along to. It's going to get tiring at some point. People are going to be like, dude, like, fucking do something else.
There's a finite number with that, absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna keep going with these Simon and Garfunkel songs. So I did like The Boxer. I did, I think I did I'm a Rock, which is like low-key one of my favorite Simon and Garfunkel songs. Okay. And then I did like All I Have to Do Is Dream from the Everly Brothers, which is like still like, I fucking love that song.
And great art, band to choose for harmonies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But once again, there's only so many Everly Brothers songs that I'm familiar with, and also that I can easily figure out the harmony to, that people are going to be like, oh yeah, I want to sing to this. And then I very quickly realized I can't do that. But from doing those videos, I reached 10,000 followers.
Oh, damn.
And that was a big deal for me
at
the time, because I was like, oh my God. I was like, okay, maybe this is like something I can continue with.
So not counting the first year where you just observed, from the time that you started actively posting to, let's say, the 10,000, what was that?
That was like, I think that was maybe like 9 or 10 months.
That's making pretty good speed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
Wow.
So that's why like my brain was saying like this is like
course.
this could be something.
Yeah.
So maybe you should keep going with it. But I knew in my gut I was like, this is not what I want to do.
Yeah,
it's not what
okay.
I want to do at all.
Huh.
And I don't know really what made me do the pivot. I think I knew I wanted to do sketch comedy.
Yeah.
And I was at a new job. I was selling restaurant technology. Like, what the fuck is that even, you know?
Yeah.
And I hated my job there. The people I worked with were great.
Sure.
Everyone there was amazing, but I knew that I was not good at my job. And I remember so vividly, it was my birthday. I usually never work on my birthday because no one should ever work on their birthday. I always would take a day off.
Yeah.
But I figured, stuck at home, it's COVID. I'm just going to work and, make some money. It's my birthday. I have nothing else to do. I'll just be a lazy piece of shit tomorrow. It's fine.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I remember I was in an all hands meeting. It was like noon. I was bored as fuck. I had my microphone muted. I had my camera off. I'm wearing my Jabra headset. And I had an idea for a video. I was like, oh shit, like, I have an idea. So I filmed a video of me, and it says POV, you work in customer service.
Yeah.
And I'm like, John, thanks so much for calling. And hey, you know what? My apologies for any miscommunication. You have yourself a great day. Take care. See you later. And then I hang up and I go, fucking idiot. It's an 11-second video.
Yeah.
And I posted it. I was under the impression at the time that with TikTok, you should post and then leave the app because I thought that if you leave the app will push your content more because it wants you to use the app. It wants you to go on the app. And when you're not using it...
Oh, as in just exit the app.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you're not using it, they'll be like, oh, like we're going to push your stuff more so that you feel the need to check it. And then you'll see a video doing well and you'll use it more.
Yeah.
I don't think that's true, but I swore by that at the time.
I mean,
like,
it makes sense. I understand the thought process.
Yeah. And like
it's
very
something
well could
they
be true.
would do if they could. Yeah.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
So I didn't look at my phone for an hour. I closed TikTok and I was like, okay, I'm not going to look until like 1:30.
Which is a long time, honestly, in this day and age, honestly.
Especially for real. After an hour, I went back on my phone and it was at 200,000 views.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. And I was like, that is a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to look at my phone for like the rest of the day. Because I just want to get the growth going even more. I wanted to like see where it can go.
Yeah.
From like 1 o'clock until 9 o'clock, I did not even open TikTok. And my brother called me later that night and to wish me happy birthday. We were chatting and he's like, how's your video doing? I saw you posted it earlier. It seems like it's doing well. I was like, yeah. I was like, I looked at it at like 1 o'clock. It was like pretty fucking crazy, like 200 or like 300,000. It was like in that general area. But I haven't looked since. He's like, well, like, dude, take a look. I want to know. And I looked, and from that time, it had jumped to, I think, around 900,000.
Wow.
And I was like, wow. I was like, that is fucking...
These are
like,
cities, essentially, you're reaching. Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
And I was like, it might hit 1 million. Oh, my God. This is a big moment.
Yeah.
And it hit 1 million. And to this day, that video has been viewed, I think, just around 7 million times.
That's insane.
Which is, like, nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was the moment where I was like, I could do this.
Wow.
Like that, I could find ways to keep this kind of bit going where it's not the same thing every time, but it drives home the same message.
Yeah. And so how do you take it from that just generally, okay, I want to keep going with this idea. How does it tangibly change once that many numbers happen? And you can take that in the financial direction, but even just in how you approach the app and maybe how they treat you.
Yeah, I mean, TikTok has not reached out to me.
Okay.
I've never conversed with TikTok.
Okay.
Not yet, at least. I don't know if I want to now. I feel like I low-key kind of get the ick from the app now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's been so much drama and stuff that's happened.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, looking at it when it changes in that kind of sense was very interesting because you kind of have to look at it from almost like a business perspective now. It turns into something way more than just an app that you go on.
Yeah.
And I'm very lucky because I feel like I've always had a bit of a business mindset growing up where I'm like, if I ever, like when I was younger, I really wanted to be an actor. And like fame was a big thing for me back in the day. I gave up on it because I was like, fuck it. Like, I don't care anymore. But I always, when I was a kid, I was thinking, if I ever achieved some sort of notoriety or fame, like how would I handle myself? And what would I like? What would I do differently? What would I keep the same?
Right.
And
so in a way, you've actually sort of mentally prepared for a version of this.
Yes, I unintentionally like was ready for it, which is like a weird thing to think about.
I also think there's something that I've thought about a lot because obviously I'm really into music and the arts, and so I've thought about that same idea is, the age you become famous or whatever word you want to use, it seems like it's obviously harder on people the younger they are.
100%.
And I think that people who sort of, let's say, peak at, or not even peak, but begin their peaking process at like 30 or onward or 29 or onward, they are in a really different spot compared to the people in the early 20s who make up the bulk of the famous people 100%. That we know. 100%. And they come a little more, hopefully, well-adjusted.
I would hope so, but it's things like that make me so thankful that I didn't have TikTok and stuff like this in high school.
Oh my God, yeah.
Or like elementary school, because
what did we have? The very basics of
maybe
Facebook
like
and
Snapchat.
Yeah, Snapchat.
Like I don't even go on Snapchat anymore. Like I haven't used it in forever.
I haven't used it in forever.
That was probably the closest thing, and it's not even remotely this. I mean,
the only
Snapchat
other thing that reminds me of it is Vine.
Yeah.
Vine is similar to TikTok and Instagram Reels a little bit.
Totally. Yeah. Totally. And like fucking rest in peace to Vine. That was
I know.
Like, dare I say, ahead of its time.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But yeah, I think it really, you kind of see it from this new light of like, oh, it's kind of like a business now. And like now I am a business. I've incorporated as a business.
Right.
And I was like ready for these things to happen. But it's very bizarre because I'm very careful now with like what I say online and what I do in general, because like
it is your livelihood.
It is my livelihood.
Yeah.
And I'll be like walking down the street and people, I can tell when people recognize me. People will come up and say, oh, hey man, like I love your videos. Like, thanks so much.
That's nice.
Which is great. And I very much enjoy when people do that, because I like that people feel comfortable enough to say, hey dude, like I really like what you do.
Not to mention it's positive.
Yeah, exactly. But I can't tell you how many people will walk by me and just like look at me and not say something, but I can tell that they know who I am.
Oh, that's funny.
So I'm always like, my brain is always like, you need to be on your best behavior.
Is that a weirdly inhibiting thing? Like it makes you nervous,
like,
kind of?
I mean, a little bit. Like, it's funny. I was at a music festival last summer, Bonnaroo. I'm like a huge fan of Bonnaroo. And I went back in like 2019 and a couple years before then.
Bonnaroo's the southern United States?
Yes, it's in Manchester, Tennessee.
Okay, gotcha.
Great festival. The first 3 years that I went, I wasn't on social media, or like I wasn't
You're just some guy.
My life was very different.
Yeah.
But this time when I went, I kept getting recognized by people there.
Whoa.
And I was like walking around like on mushrooms and like all this stuff. So I like, my subconscious was like, you need to behave.
Yeah.
Because you don't know who knows you. And I shouldn't have to worry about that. Because like who, like at the end of the day, who fucking cares? You know, if someone's gonna be like, oh, I saw Farbsy at Bonnaroo and he was fucking tripping balls, and I'd be like, yeah, so
if
like,
that heavily affects them, that's more of a judgment on them than you.
100%.
Yes.
But I can't help but think like, oh, I need to like be the best version of myself, which I always strive to be in general.
Of course.
But
that's from a moral perspective.
Exactly.
You don't mean it from like a, as though a camera was following you around all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But now like it's a very weird thing that I'm ready for, but it's kind of annoying sometimes, where I'm like, I know that I could just be myself, and I do try to be myself, but in a lot of social situations, I'm like, ugh, I gotta behave. I can't drink too much wine.
Right.
You know, I don't want to be that guy who like spills wine on someone, and then they're like, oh, like fuck, now I'm gonna like live with that.
Right. Yeah. That's true. But what an interesting game to play. You know what I mean? What an interesting, and so interesting that like I feel like sometimes in certain artistic communities, someone will say like, you need to look at yourself as a brand, and it's seen as like a dirty word to some bohemian type artists or whatever. But I feel like for you, it is the correct term, and not in that ugly way that they think, because it's the goalposts are different. You know what I mean? There's you're getting into sketch, and that is in bed with show business in a way that some abstract music isn't, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I just want to say that's a really interesting position to find yourself in, and how you then lead your life.
Yeah.
And you have you have a wide array of interests.
Yeah.
This is obviously, the more you pursue it, in a way, it must feel narrow after time. Not it doesn't mean it's not satisfying.
Yeah.
I just mean I know you and
Yeah.
you have other artistic interests.
Yeah.
So how are you also pursuing those in addition to doing what you're doing?
No, totally. I mean, I try to balance everything out as well as I can without overwhelming myself, because balancing a full-time, like being a full-time like content creator, which is like so fucking weird to say out loud.
Yeah.
But doing that and, you know, working with Doomsday Darling, my band,
Yes.
and like, you know, there's a bunch of creative endeavors that I'm working on that I don't want to talk too much about.
Okay, sure.
But I am excited about it.
Yeah.
It's tough just because I want to give everything the same amount of time and respect that they deserve.
And there's only so much time in the day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I tried to keep a good schedule because, like, when I started doing this full time, I knew I was like, okay, I need to treat this like a 9 to 5, at least as close to a 9 to 5 as I can.
That was going to be my next question: is how do you actually divvy up the day in a way that feels like a work day, as opposed to if it was me and I was in your position, I would have no schedule and not be able to maintain it.
No, I totally get that. And it's funny because when I was younger, I always thought if I ever like worked for myself, I would just do whatever the fuck I want. I would wake up at noon.
Ice cream when I wake up.
Yeah, like ice cream for breakfast, man.
Like a YTV commercial kid. Yeah.
But I knew when I started doing this full time, I was like, I need to keep this as scheduled as I possibly can, because if I don't do that, I will become a lazy sack of bones and I'm going to lose the passion and drive that I have for this.
Yeah.
So I remember I woke up the first morning after getting let go from my job, when I really like very much had this as a full-time thing, because I like to consider I did it full-time in quotations.
Okay.
It's like even at other jobs, I would still be like, doing this.
It was your main
'cause, like,
focus
I
still.
had to put it first.
Absolutely.
I remember waking up and my wife Kelsey was like, what's your plan? What are you going to do today?
You wake up and she's already like staring at you next to you in
like,
bed.
What are you going to do? And she was like asking like genuinely. She was like
oh
fascinated.
yeah. I'm joking about it being judgmental. She's asking in a partner way.
Yeah. And I said, I'm just gonna go to work, and that's exactly what I did. I just like, went up to our like shared like workspace area that we have and just started like coming up with more ideas for videos. I started filming. I just treated it like I would as though I had another job to do. Yeah. But I didn't have to go to any other job.
Forgive me for the way I'm getting to this question is from projecting onto you myself. I would have had a crisis of confidence being let go, even if I had this passion to rely on that was generating an income at a certain point. It would have still been a really scary thing.
Yeah.
Like, what? I'm just curious what more the mindset was.
Yeah, no.
You didn't just turn a page and you're like, I'm all good.
Totally
right?
understandable. Because for a while, when my page was taking off, I would be getting brand deals from like companies as I was working at these jobs that were paying me a salary.
Okay.
And a lot of people were saying, dude, just fucking quit your job.
Yeah, exactly.
But I was like, no. I was like, I'm going to let them fire me. I'm going to keep getting...
The soft quit or whatever they're calling
like quiet
it.
Quitting.
Quiet quitting.
I was like, I'm going to let them continue to pay me a steady salary.
Absolutely, man.
And then when they fire me, I'll get severance.
Fantastic.
Which was great.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. But I knew I had a moment where once I kind of clued into like what was happening, because even as the page was growing and growing, I still wasn't fully aware of like how big of a thing it was.
Yeah, right.
Because like I still try to not think about it too much, because when I really look at the numbers,
it's
me out
overwhelming.
A little bit.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
yeah. And also, it's like it's your first foray into this, so why would you know? Why would you have a completed perspective on it? Right? Yeah,
exactly. So I don't really know what happened, but I just remember when I got let go, I felt like a weight was lifted off of my shoulders. Because any other job that I've been let go from, you best believe I get on the subway, I'm fucking like crying.
Absolutely.
I'm trying not to like have people notice me.
You have insane imposter syndrome that you realize, it's finally justified the imposter syndrome that I had, right?
And that was the first and only moment of my life where I got fired from a job and felt amazing. Yeah. I felt so good.
Wow.
Like it was literally one of the, aside from my wedding, it was like one of the best days of my life.
Because
like,
it was this, I totally understand that. I'm picturing that Nicole Kidman leaving have you seen that picture where she's super happy?
Yes.
No, I totally understand that, because it's almost like not only was the weight lifted off of you of not having to go to that job anymore, you didn't have to make that decision. It was made for you.
Yes.
Yes. Fantastic.
Yeah, it was a beautiful moment. And I feel a little bad because I did enjoy my job.
Sure,
and
I'm sure the people were cool.
Yeah,
it's
they
just,
were great. But I knew that regardless of any job I had while I was growing this channel, I was replaceable.
Yes.
They could easily let me go and find someone else a week later.
And it's justified because you weren't at that time honestly focusing as much as you could have theoretically.
Yeah. And I knew that for my page, like that is me. That is not replaceable. You know, people can try to copy it, but it's me.
Which has happened in the past, if I'm not mistaken. A few jokes have been pulled or whatever.
Yeah. People have like phony like accounts of me. It's like Farbsy _.
Oh yes,
and it's just like
I've
me,
seen
and they're
that
just reposting the same videos of mine. One has like 12,000 followers, and I was like, this is like. That's impressive.
That's pretty funny, actually.
Yeah,
no.
But no, they all have me blocked because people will send me their profiles. They're like, hey, just so you know, like this is like this person's impersonating you,
and so they'll block you so that I
can't see it.
Yes, right.
And then I'll like take my wife's phone. I'll be like, can I just like look something up for a hot second? And I'll just get like 7 like Farbsy _ Farbsy .2.
Oh my god,
it's insane.
So walk me through the thought process there. Like, you don't make money on an Instagram account that has only 2,000 followers or whatever, theoretically, mostly.
I mean, you can,
but it's going to be negligible compared to what they theoretically are wanting to make.
Yeah.
But by the time it reaches like 12,000, they're actually siphoning some shit from you.
I think most people. Correct? Yeah, I mean, like, I think most people are. They're going to catch that it's a fake profile because a lot of them are like, follow me on Telegram. Oh, which is like, I don't even fucking know what Telegram is.
Isn't Telegram like a right-wing social media sort of thing?
I think so.
Okay,
I think so.
Like a right-wing WhatsApp.
And they'll say like, oh, like made this new page to connect with my friends and fans. And it's like, first off, I would never fucking say that. Like, when am I ever going to be like, hey guys, like I'm going to make a new page to connect with my friends and fans.
Right.
It's just so...
It's not your voice.
Not my voice at all. Yeah. So most people who have messaged me about the profile, they've said, hey, I've reported this page because this is very obviously not you.
Good. Wow, that's nice.
And it's amazing because I think also I've developed this voice from my page where people know when it's me. It's very witty, very sarcastic.
Yes, biting.
Yeah. So I think when they see something like that, they'll be like, this is not the guy. Like,
for sure.
Like, who the fuck is this?
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. No, you're right. And so I'm also just curious from a almost like, not to be like highfalutin about it or anything, but like from a social viewpoint or almost like anthropological thing, it must be an interesting experience to become well known because you become an experiment in how relationship or parasocial relationships change with you,
dude.
And people start interacting with you with this preconceived notion already built.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So do you have any, I guess, remarks on that or experiences with that where something stood out and you were like, Jesus, this would not be the way this person would be speaking to me, good or bad, if they just knew me as me?
Dude, I got a crazy fucking story for you about this. Parasocial relationships in general are so bizarre to me.
Yeah.
Ask any creator or any celebrity of any kind about parasocial relationships.
Yeah.
They'll tell you
it's a nightmare, right?
It's a nightmare.
So bizarre.
So bizarre because like at the end of the day, we're people.
You are,
we're people. We're just people.
And then when they realize that, they're disappointed, which is so funny.
So here's the craziest thing that has happened to me with like a fan. Okay. And I'm using air quotes when I say that.
Hold on. Can you hold on one second? Because I would like to have a coffee.
Sure.
Can I get you a coffee if you want
okay,
one?
Thank you.
Okay, so there was just a break there because I needed coffee, but we were just about to get into what your sort of, for lack of a better description, weirdest fan encounter,
the parasocial
example. Yeah.
So the funny thing about this is that this was in the very early stages. This was like right when the page started taking off. Maybe like a year in. I had like, I think maybe 40,000 followers at this point. It was like which is still
a real sizable chunk,
a good sizable chunk. But it was in the very early days.
Yeah. Yep.
I was in Niagara Falls for one of my best friend's bachelor parties.
Wow.
We were staying at a hotel. I can't remember the name, but we were in the lobby. We were waiting for my buddy Corey. He's the bachelor. We were waiting for, I think, his brother and one other guy to come downstairs. And there were about, I want to say 8 or 9 of us. Mm-hmm. And then we're waiting in the lobby. We're just like shooting the shit, whatever. And then I hear a woman scream at the top of her lungs.
Oh,
and
God.
something you need to know about me, Alex, is that if I hear something like a scream or whatever, I'm going to immediately go worst case scenario.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So my first thought was, you're
inside
dying.
of a tragedy.
Yeah, I was like, we're about to be in like a fucking mass shooting or something. Like something awful is about to happen.
Yeah.
And I look around and I just see this woman who's like, I think she was in her like maybe mid-30s, just staring right at me.
Oh, that's weird.
Like staring right at me.
Like Smile, the horror movie.
Like eyes wide open. And she points at me and she goes, oh my God, I follow you on TikTok. And I'm like, oh, I'm like, cool. And all my friends who I'm with, they've never seen this happen before.
Oh, yeah.
And at this point, it's
so they must be like ribbing you like, oh,
yeah,
whoa.
like, I can hear them being like, yo, dude, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, holy shit. At this point, getting recognized had only happened. I could probably count on one hand how many times it's happened. It was very new.
And it probably wasn't like that.
It was not like that. Like people would walk by, they'd be like, yo, you're the customer service guy. I'd be like, yeah. They'd be like, okay, sick, awesome, man.
Have
Love
a good
your
day.
shit. Yeah. And that would be it. We'd be on our way, which is
ideal.
Ideal.
Yeah.
So she's like, I follow you on TikTok. I was like, yeah, thanks so much. She runs up to me and gives me like essentially a bear hug, and I'm like, okay, like we're in it. And she's like, hi. She's like, I love you. I was like, thanks. Like, that's so kind of you to say. I really appreciate that. She's like, can I get a picture? I was like, of course. So we take a picture, we take a couple of selfies, and she goes, oh my God, I have to tell Amanda or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was
whatever
like,
her friend
yeah,
is.
I was like, sure. I was like, where, like, is she like here with you? Like, I'd be happy to say hi to her as well. And she goes, no. She's like, I have to FaceTime her. I have to FaceTime her.
Jeez.
And I'm like, oh God. And then like my friends now are like, like this is like
it's time to go.
They're thinking what I'm thinking, which is we gotta make moves.
Yeah.
And she has her phone out, and I hear Amanda on FaceTime. I hear her go, like, Stephanie, like, I'm at a gala event. I can't talk right now. What's going on? And she goes, Amanda, look who I'm with right now. And she turns the phone to face me, and I'm looking at her phone. And yes, Amanda was at a gala event. She's in a very nice dress.
Right.
She's in like a rec hall of some kind. And her friend on FaceTime looks, and she goes, no fucking way. Oh my God. And she starts freaking out.
Wow.
And they're like freaking out together. And I'm like, hi.
This is really teetering between charming and weird, right? At the moment. Yeah.
I was like, I don't know whether to be like happy about this or like never show my face in public ever again.
Exactly. Wear a balaclava everywhere you go. Yeah.
Exactly. And I was like, well, like, nice to meet you. And then her boyfriend was with her, and she goes, babe, I need a picture with him. Take a picture.
So did she already get a selfie with you?
Well, she took a selfie, but she wanted like, I guess, like a non-selfie picture.
Okay, yeah.
She's already hung up on Amanda, whatever. That conversation's done.
Yeah.
And the boyfriend takes the phone, and this guy looks pissed. He's looking at me, and I was like, hey man, like, how's it going? He goes, what's up, bro?
Well, when's the last time he got that reaction from her, right? Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So he takes a picture, and she looks at me again. She goes, I love you. I was like, thank you so much. That's really kind. And she goes, no. Like, I am in love with you.
Oh.
And I was like, thank you. Like, that's so, like, I love you. You know, like, yeah, like, thank you so much. That's really kind. And I was like, listen, like, this has been really great, but I'm with my friends. It's, my buddy's bachelor party. We're going to head out. And she goes, she's like, okay, I'm so sorry, but can I get like 2 more pictures with you?
What the fuck?
And I was like, okay, so we took like 2 more selfies, and then
1 prom photo, 2 selfies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then we're walking out, and I hear her like screaming as we're leaving. She's like, "Oh my God! Like, it was like that whole thing, and my friends were like, "Bro, what the fuck was that? Like, does that happen often?" And I was like, "No, that does not happen often."
You just witnessed history.
Yeah, I was like, that was a first. Like, I will not forget that. And my buddy Corey, the bachelor, goes, dude, I don't care whatever happens the rest of this weekend. That was the fucking highlight. That was insane. And as we're walking out of the hotel, a random woman, like an older woman, comes up to me, and she goes, hi, sir, I'm so sorry. Can I ask you something? And I'm like, yeah, what's up? And she goes, who are you? Instantly humbled. instantly
course.
humbled. I was
Hilarious.
like, oh. I was like, ma'am, thank you so much. I was like, I make videos on social media.
And she was asking because she had seen the scene play out, or she was just asking because she recognized your face a little?
She witnessed what happened.
I see. So she was like, what's the big deal?
Yeah. So I was like, I make videos on social media.
That's hilarious.
And she just looks at me and she goes, good for you.
Going from a maladjusted person to a well-adjusted person.
I was like, thank you so much, man. Like, thank you. So that was, I think about that very often.
That's pretty cool, though.
It was neat. It started off very like funny.
Yeah.
And then it hit a point where I was like,
weird.
okay, I was like, this is like a lot.
No, that
I haven't had something like that happen since.
Oh, okay.
Thank fuck.
This is an invite.
Yeah, right. So anybody out there, give me a bear hug.
Exactly.
But no, there's been the whole idea of parasocial relationships is really crazy because what I've noticed is, mainly on Instagram, I'll post videos almost every day.
Yeah.
But if I ever post a picture or something about my personal life, oh man, I'll lose tons of followers.
All bets are off.
Not that it matters. Like if I lose fucking like 300 to 400 followers every day.
Right.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. But I make
just
up
from
for
posting what you post.
Just from yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
just on like a casual day, I'll lose like anywhere from like 200 to 400.
And you can just see it either be better or worse and based on kind of what you post.
Yeah.
Wow. That because and
the analytics are very very
telling?
real. Yeah.
and do you think maybe for lack of a better like terminology, do you think it's because there are just some people who only interact with you in a way that where they're like, we see you as a human product essentially, and just continue pumping this out, please?
Yeah, I think it's a mix of what I think is it's a mix of that where it's like, hey, I follow you for funny videos.
Reason.
If you're not giving me funny videos, then fuck you.
Yes, right.
But I also think there's a good chance that people just have forgotten that they followed me.
That's
and they're
true.
like, oh, like, who is this guy? Like, oh, okay, I'm just
And then it's a
unfollow.
political post, and it's like, oh, no. yeah, right.
But they don't like when I post about my wife.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, it's because of women like that, right? Where
I
they're
guess
like,
so.
I'm in
So,
love
like,
with you.
Right. So, like, I posted about our wedding anniversary, like, not this most recent one, because it was our 5-year anniversary in October, but I posted about our 4-year anniversber.
Okay.
I posted like a carousel of pictures from our wedding
Right,
day, and I was like, look how hot my wife is, like, essentially.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were commenting being like, this is amazing, so happy for you guys.
Yeah.
But I take a look at my analytics all the time. I can't help it. I'm a numbers guy.
Sure.
I hate math, but I'll look at the analytics.
Yeah.
And I saw a dip. A major dip.
Wow.
On the day that I posted that carousel where I lost like almost like 1,000 followers.
I mean, you
which
hear
is,
about
like,
that as forever, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think going back to even like Elvis, they didn't want for a while people to know that he was involved with anybody
Yeah.
because a bachelor is more interesting.
Yeah.
And obviously, we see the same things happen with women. Like, if
Yeah.
if Sydney Sweeney posts a picture with who she's dating and not
Yeah.
just herself,
People are like, what
the
the fuck
comments
is
are
this?
savage,
Oh,
kind of
it's
thing,
insane.
right?
It's insane.
And yet, she didn't even sign up to be an internet personality. It's like not
Yeah.
even the same,
Yeah.
But anyway, that must be very bizarre. But it's cool
yeah.
that you do have the analytics. And also, although you were sort of, I would say, defending it in an understandable way that you were looking at your analytics, think about how weird it would be to speak to a business person and have them go, I never look at my books. You know what I mean? So it makes a lot of sense that thank goodness you look at your analytics. Otherwise,
Dude,
it's
that's so true.
it's a ship without
That
a
is so
direction.
true. I've spoken with some creators in the past who are like, oh yeah, like I don't really look into that stuff. Because
Right.
I think there's a lot of people who have stumbled into becoming a creator.
Right.
Where they don't realize that it is a business,
Yeah,
essentially.
right.
It is a job.
Yeah,
As
yeah.
much as it's fun to do and it's exciting
Exciting
it
to
is
be
work.
stumbled into a viral thing, but it's
Yeah.
a job to continue to
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you go into it and you don't really have that much of a business mindset, it'll destroy you.
Right.
Because think about taxes.
Yeah.
Like think about taxes. People are like, do you put money away for taxes? And I'm like, are you of course
yeah,
I do.
exactly. Of course, it's going to come back to bite me in the ass in April.
There was a really good video
For good reason.
Brittany Broski.
I don't know if I know Brittany Broski.
She's like
Good
the
name, though.
kombucha meme girl.
Oh, okay, yeah,
But
okay, I feel like
she's
I probably-
become like a huge thing. Like she
Okay.
has like her own podcast now as well.
Oh.
She's great. She's
Cool,
very
okay,
funny.
okay.
But there was a really good interview with her where they were saying to her, "What's the most important thing that creators should know that most of them don't really think about. And she goes, taxes. She's like, you need to put money away for taxes. Otherwise, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Because
you're incorporating as a business, so
and you're
right?
self-employed.
Yes,
you're self-employed. So if you're making good money and you're not putting any of it away, tax season will literally destroy you.
I want to, if you're comfortable, we don't need to get into numbers, but I want to get into maybe as a lesson to anybody listening to this, interested in pursuing what you did, like. Just speaking generally, what should you do in that position? Okay, you incorporate yourself, and then what?
Basically, I put, depending on how much money you're making, you put a certain amount aside for taxes. So like I was starting off at like putting 30% of any brand deal that I got. Okay. 30% of that went into taxes. Okay. I would have like a tax account where I would just keep it there. And then tax season comes around, I don't have to worry about it.
You don't have to deal with it. You just shove that money there. Yeah. And if you have some money left over, great.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's really the most important thing is like, you want to incorporate at a time where it feels right because you don't need to do it right away.
Yeah, what does that mean, feels right?
When basically if you're hitting a point where it's becoming a full-time job and you have something specific that you don't want people to take from you, get yourself incorporated. Right. So like I took the name Farbsy Inc. is the name of my company, my business, because I didn't want someone to take Farbsy.
Yes, I see.
Because like that would have been, I'm sure I would have come up with another name, which is fine, but that's what people know me for.
Yes. No, it makes sense.
Yeah, and I figured, you know what, I meant to incorporate a while ago. It actually
that's what I was going to ask. If I can ask, like even like a numbers way, speaking in hindsight, when should you have incorporated and when did you?
Yeah, I mean, I incorporated within the last year. Like it hasn't even been a year of me being an actual business.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. That is more recent than I would have thought. Okay.
I realistically should have done it at least a year and a half ago.
Okay.
Like I probably should have started thinking about it way more when I was at my last job.
Yes, or at least gearing up kind of
because
thing.
My thought process was, I don't need to incorporate right now. I have a full-time job. I have a 9-to-5. Like I'm okay.
And I understand that mindset. Yeah.
And then I just had a moment where I was like, I should probably do something about this, like, just to be safe.
And so when you incorporate and you're putting money away, I guess my question is, what is the difference between doing that versus just getting a savings account as your regular self and putting money away for that?
Writing things off for taxes, business expenses.
Right. And if you shoot a bunch of your house, which I think you do, then you get to write off like
rent, my internet bill,
laptop
like phone
stuff,
bill, everything.
Probably. Wow.
So you can really save yourself. It really all comes down to taxes.
And when you say write off, and I'm gonna pretend to be dumb about taxes. When you say write off, is that just giving you essentially a certain amount off of what you would pay for that, or is that literally like you're writing that shit off? You don't need to worry about.
So you basically, from what I understand, like I have an accountant who helps me with this because I'm terrible with numbers. But
no, it's good to share that too. People don't want to have like an incorrect image of you.
Like HST, for example. Like I have an HST number.
Okay.
So now, like if I work with Canadian companies, I have to charge them.
And an HST number comes from when you are incorporated.
I'm pretty sure you can get an HST number without incorporating.
Oh, okay.
I think it's ideal to have both.
Okay.
But then you basically, anything you do for HST that you write off, you get the tax on it back.
Yes. Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
That makes a lot more sense than getting it for free.
You don't get it like fully written off.
It's like, why would everyone just become their own business and then write everything off?
That would be ideal.
Okay.
But I'm also like, you don't want to do it for too many things, because you like if you get like audited. Like I've never been audited, but like I'm very selective. So like I do it for my phone bill, internet bill, because I'm using that all for the business.
Right. It is legitimate as opposed to
if the CRA is like, we're auditing you, like explain this. I'll be like, yeah, of course. Well, like, I film on my phone.
Right.
And my phone, I pay my phone
Whereas
bill,
if they see like, oh, okay, you bought a bunch of cases of champagne and you wrote those off, or, for yourself, not for some event or something, or like, why did you use this money to get a hairless cat? You know?
Exactly. But the thing is, if you buy something and it's used in your work even once, you can write it off.
So if you used a video with your hairless cat, you can write it off.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. You don't have a hairless cat. That's just me continuing
I'm
the
actually
idea.
allergic to cats.
Which is why you could get a hairless cat.
Exactly.
Wow.
But like, for example, I got a new guitar strap recently, and I filmed a video where I was playing guitar, and I have the guitar strap in it, and I was talking with someone on my financial team, and she was like, "You could write that off if you want," and I was like, I didn't even like think about that.
Right, of course.
So now part of me is like, do I just go and get a new guitar? And write that off,
true.
Yeah, so it's
especially between that and Doomsday Darling, which obviously you haven't incorporated, or I don't think you've incorporated, but I mean, it's sort of. It could be interrelated. If you were audited, you could argue that.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's handy to get an HST, GST number. It's handy to incorporate just so you can own your name, especially if it's something specific. Because
Farbsy.
You just want you want to play it safe, and I think it's even more important if your name is something that can be taken that could have another meaning.
Yes,
you know, someone actually owns Farbsy.com. It's a random like sports writer from Pittsburgh, I think. I think his last name was Goldfarb, I guess people call him Farbsy, because when I was looking at putting a website together, Farbsy.com was already taken.
Wow.
I was like, what? Like,
and
what the
is that
fuck?
the kind of thing that, like, let's say you get all the money you could ever want? Is that something that you would go after to be like, come on, man, I want this, I'll pay you?
Nah, I got Farbsy.ca.
Oh, perfect. Even better. Patriotic.
It ended up working out.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so that's a very funny thing, though. The only thing that I would have like considered at the time was someone has Farbsy on Twitter.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
and now our perception of Twitter has changed quite a bit.
And like I don't even go on like Twitter X, whatever the fuck. I don't even use it, so it doesn't bug me at all. But my name on Twitter is at Farbsy on TikTok.
Oh, funny.
Because I couldn't just use Farbsy. Some random woman in like I think Iran has it.
Okay.
Yeah. So like at the beginning, I was like, a part of me was like, do I message her being like, "Hi, we don't know each other, but like, can I
any chance we could swap?" Or
do
whatever.
you have like any backup names that you like?
Yeah.
But
it makes sense the way you kind of worked it out, which is to just try and use it as a funnel to TikTok. So they just go, oh, okay, he's on TikTok.
Exactly. Like you got to connect it all somehow. So I feel like that was a good way to do that. But I'm also like, I can't remember the last time I posted on Twitter.
Yeah,
so,
fair enough. Exactly. It's kind of gone down the train for a while. I mean, it was just in general toxic for a while, even before Elon came on. And then once it came on, it was like gloves were off.
Absolute mess.
Yes.
Yeah.
President Elon. Well, I feel like I want to get to sort of the last third of what I wanted to talk to you about. And both you and I love the Blue Jays.
We love the Blue Jays.
It's not going to be all about that, but it's sort of a way to continue talking about what we're talking about. But so, just as a jumping off point, you got a Santander jersey.
I did.
In expectation of him coming, correct? Yeah. And tell me more about that.
Yeah. So basically, my whole thing with the Blue Jays was like I live and breathe baseball. Like all I do when I'm not working is I play the show. Like I love
MLB the Show or whatever. Yeah.
Anytime a new
for people who don't know, that's the baseball version of like Madden.
Yeah. Essentially. Anytime a new like version comes out every year, I get it. I don't give a shit. And everyone's like, the game sucks now. I'm like, nah, I don't care. I'm getting a new one.
I don't. Quick aside about that. Don't the games, aren't they sophisticated enough now that they update the roster anyway? So what is the benefit of buying the next game?
They add like very subtle changes to them that like if you really think about it, it's fun, but like a lot of people are like, oh, they need to change way more, like it needs an overhaul of this and that.
Right.
Like, I don't give a shit. I just think it's fun
like
regardless.
it. Yeah, exactly.
But I've always loved baseball, specifically the Jays, and
of course
they reached out to me back in like August last year.
I don't think I realized it started with them.
Oh, it started with them.
That has to be the most flattering thing in the world.
Dude, I went to an event with Xbox, and they were like, "Hey, they're like, if you tag the Jays, they'll feature you." I was like, "Amazing!"
Whoa!
So I tagged them, and they featured me in a post or like in a story of theirs. They reshared my story because we went to a game against the Angels where we fucking crushed them. And
is that when they still had Ohtani and
no, this was like last season.
Oh, last
most
season.
Recent
Okay, gotcha.
And then I got a message from them on Instagram, and they said, "Hey, we have a thing going on called Work from Dome. and we would love
Right.
to have you come to the stadium, film some content, and we'll treat you to a game.
Isn't that just sort of kismet the way that works out?
Oh,
Because what
dude.
if you had landed on a different comedy sketch and then they would have never had the work from Dome?
Literally.
Yes.
Literally.
That's wild. So,
Like,
okay,
what if
so
I was still doing Simon and Garfunkel? They'd be like, hey, we
Exactly.
want you to play Sound of Silence,
Yeah.
and then throw the opening pitch.
Or at
I don't
best,
know.
yeah, you do the anthem or something,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Or
I would never want
harmonize
to do
the anthem.
Right? Maybe,
That'd be kind of cool.
But they were like, yeah,
continue, yeah.
we'd love to have you come to the Dome. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, of course. Like, you don't even have to ask me. I'll just show up.
Yeah, right.
It
I was
doesn't
already
matter.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I went and I met the like, when I say the team, I mean the social media team.
Yes, yeah.
And they brought me in for batting practice. I got to like be on the field, and I was like Bo Bichette was like right at where the door. He was like steps away from me.
Oh, that's crazy.
And
Out of curiosity, what do we just generally? What's
Yeah.
the age of the social media team there? Are they pretty young people?
from the ones I met, they're around this. I believe they're around the same age as me. Like, I'm 31.
Okay,
so I
yeah,
think they're
yeah.
in their like late 20s, early 30s. Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's what I would expect.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I filmed a really fun video there. They gave me a City Connect jersey that has Farbsy on the back. So I
So
have a
cool.
custom Farbsy jersey, which is like.
So do you wear that, or do you have it hanging up somewhere in your house?
It's in my closet. I wear it to every Jays game.
Of course.
Every
Hell
Jays
yeah.
game.
Yeah.
And then with the Santander jersey, it showed up at my door very recently.
Just from nothing.
From nothing. They just, and the letter said like, hey, like with spring training right around the corner, we want to like, get you pumped for
That's
opening
so
day.
cool, yeah.
With our one of our most exciting additions to the team. And
Hell
like,
yeah.
I love Santander.
Yeah.
Like, he was like, he crushed it on Baltimore last season.
Exactly.
He's like,
He's
the
one of those
perfect
players
fit.
that he's a perfect fit for here, but he's also one of those players that sort of most people who are fans of baseball in Toronto, they usually just follow the Jays,
Yeah.
and then you get to know some players
Yeah.
if they come to town. But Santander was like already more famous and transcending
Yeah.
just the fame of his team. He was like league famous, so it's
Yes,
cool.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
it's awesome to have him in Toronto. That jersey is a perfect fit. I might wear that next time I go to I'm gonna probably switch
Switch
back
it
and
up.
forth.
Yeah.
But that Farbsy jersey is just
Now you just need to keep like trying to get different jerseys from them.
I know.
Yeah.
But I have the City Connect, and I have like the dark blue for Santander, which is amazing.
Yeah, that's cool.
Next up is the powdered blue.
Yeah, okay.
I love the powdered blue jerseys.
Powdered blue is cool. I
Yeah.
love the red that they wear on Canada Day.
So I had a nameless red jersey.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if they still wear them though, because I feel
think
like
they may have stopped that.
Yeah, because they weren't like.
You're right.
They weren't doing too well when they wore them.
No, that's
which is
true.
fine.
I
Like,
think
it
now
happens.
in their place maybe is actually the City Connect stuff.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Huh.
But yeah, and hopefully I get to do more with the Jays because they're
Yeah.
amazing.
And they seem game, you
Yeah.
know, not to just make a joke about it. The game. But yeah, wow, that's exciting. So
Yeah.
and then I'm. We can bring up who else you worked with, right?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
person that I'm probably going to bring up.
Yeah. You're
Okay.
talking about Riley Reid.
Riley Reid.
Yeah.
Okay. So we spoke separately about
Yes.
how that came together because I remember seeing that and going, "Who's that?" No. But yeah. So how does that come to be? Because the baseball thing is a little bit more immediately understandable.
With Riley, that was also kind of like dare I say she initiated first,
Right.
Because she
She had
me.
left the original industry and now
Yes.
she's trying to do like
She does-
similar things, online content stuff.
Exactly. And I was at my job one day, and I got a notification. I'm just on Instagram, and I saw that she started following me. And I was like looking around. I'm like, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I can't I can't share this.
Yeah, right,
I don't
right.
Want, I don't want, like, I'm in an office. Like,
I can't share it, and yet I want to bat signal this to
literally.
the
I'm
city.
like, I need to tell everyone, but like, I can't tell everybody right now.
Yes.
So I sent it to my friends. I was like, guys, like, this is amazing. Look. And a friend of mine was like, you need to DM her right now.
Right.
And I knew I wanted to, but I was
Yes.
like, I don't even know what I say. Like, hey, like, great work. Like, keep up the, like, big
You're a
fan. Keep up the
legend?
great work. Like, I
Yeah.
don't really know. So I sent her a message. I said, hey, you made my whole year by following me. Huge fan. Keep up the great work.
Okay.
Which I thought was just like a nice / funny thing to
And
say.
at that point, when she'd reached out, she had already moved on to making internet content.
Yeah.
Okay.
And when I sent that message to her, I was ready to like either get no response, or maybe just
seen.
like a heart.
Okay, or a heart.
She liked your message.
Double check. Yeah.
What I ended up getting was a paragraph from her where she said, "Oh my gosh," she's like, "Thank you so much. You're so kind. You're like a video of yours popped up on my page, and it really hit a personal note with me because I'm dealing with a lot of employee issues because she is a business owner. She has her own clothing line."
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow.
Oh, yeah. She's like multifaceted. She's doing
That's
everything.
cool. No. Yeah.
She's like, I'm dealing with some employee issues, and your video just kind of like
struck
hit such a personal spot, and like, you know, we all know that our phones like listen to us, and I think it just knew that I needed to see this video.
Oh, wow.
So she said, honestly, like, thank you for making your content. Like, it's really funny, and like, keep up the great work.
Right.
Like, she's like, you keep up the great work.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I was like, oh my God, like, thank you so much. That's so kind. And then we just kind of like would chat back and forth.
Right.
And then I went to LA to go see a good friend of mine. And my same friend who told me to DM her said, you need to collab with her.
Try and make a collab.
You need to figure something out.
And at this point, if I may ask, who has more followers on social media?
Oh, her. She
okay.
has like over 2 million.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, okay, cool.
Yeah. And I sent her a message and I said, hey, come to LA for the first time in October. I know you're busy. So am I. You know, we're busy people, but if you have time, I'd love to, you know, film a fun video with you. I remember you mentioned when we were first chatting that my video helped you feel better about the situation you were dealing with. So hopefully we can make a fun video that makes people feel better the way I helped you feel better.
Yeah, wow, that's nice.
Yeah, and she said I would be honored.
Oh, cool.
And I was like, oh my God, this is very real.
Yeah.
So I basically thought to myself, I was like, how can I come up with a fun video that doesn't alienate people? Because like it would be very different. You know, it's like working with like an adult film star is like very out of what I usually do.
For some people who are more judgmental or more like puritanical, that'll be enough for them to throw their arms up.
Exactly.
Kind of thing.
So I basically thought to myself, I'm gonna come up with some ideas where if you know, you know.
Yes,
and if you don't
it's
know,
a bit of a wink.
You can go to her profile and you'll figure it out pretty quickly. So we ended up filming 2 really fun videos where it's like, oh, when you recognize the new coworker, and I'm like, are you in movies? She's like, yeah, like I've done a few.
Right.
Was it that guy in it? She's like, yeah. I was like, the girl too. She's like, yeah. I was like, was there a guy and a girl at the same time? She's like, I think so. And then the other one was like when you don't know who you're interviewing, and it's just like filled with these like sexual innuendos.
Sure.
I'm like, dude, like, what do you think about solo work? Do you like working in teams? And she's like, I'm great. Like with either. Like, I love both.
Yeah.
And we had a blast.
So I have a few questions about that. One is, how do you write that? Are you just batting ideas back and forth with each other?
So I came up with the idea and I sent it over to her because I was just like
the premise of it. Yeah.
I was like, what are some just like fun like sexual innuendos that like make sense in a working environment where once again people would say to themselves, wait, like what's going on here? And then if they know, they know.
And it's still all clean.
Yeah. And when I was in LA with her in Pasadena, we were going through the script together. And she was giving me some great lines. She was like, wait, she's like, how about we say this?
Oh, that's
funny. I'm like, dude, are you fucking kidding me? Like, that's amazing. What a great line. And it was so much fun. And I remember we had a moment at the end where I was saying to her, I was like, listen, like, thank you so much for just giving me this opportunity. This is like very surreal. Like, I actually can't believe this is happening right now. So thank you for allowing me the opportunity. And she said, no. Like, I really need to thank you because I've wanted to do like sketch comedy like this for so long, but no one's really given me the opportunity to show that I could do it.
Right.
And I was like, no, of course. Well, like, I'm like happy and honored that you like felt confident to do that with me. And she's like, yeah. She's like, well, like, think about it. You know, when you think of my name, the first thing that comes to mind is not going to be sketch comedy.
No.
I was like, no. I was like, that's fair. And she said, she's like, this was so much fun. Like, I want to do this again. So if you're ever in LA, please let me know. And she's like, I'll let you know next time I'm in Toronto if I'm ever there.
Yeah.
So yeah, and like we've
DM'd, kept in touch. Yeah. That's so wild, and it's nice that she sounds very nice and that kind of thing. And I guess that's a story for another time. But just the way that you can get pulled away from what you initially want to do, and it sounds like she was really interested in sketch comedy.
People were commenting on the videos being like, how did this happen?
Yeah.
And my only answer was the world works in mysterious ways, which is true. Which is true.
Absolutely. Yeah. Listeners, if you haven't seen them, go look up those videos. They're pretty funny. And she's an interview for another time. That would be pretty interesting. But okay, and so the other thing that I want to ask about that is just you said it was your first time in LA.
First time, yeah.
And again, similar to you, we're both like sort of pop culture obsessives,
Yeah.
I would say. And we're beginning to find our parts. I'm beginning to find my way in it.
Yeah.
And all that leads me to say you must have had preconceived notions about LA, just like New York. So
Yeah.
what was it like going?
LA was neat. It was very, very hot.
Oh, okay.
I was staying
When
in
did you
Echo
go?
Park.
Like July or something?
It was like early October.
Is that when it's really hot?
Well,
Or just a weird time?
I think it starts to get cool towards the end of October.
Oh, okay.
Like it would get chilly at night, but
Sure.
like in the day, like
Sure.
I also burn very easily. So like I'd be walking to like Starbucks in the morning. I'm like, fuck, I should have brought water with me. I'm fucking dying out here.
That could be like a Farbsy in LA
Honestly,
video.
yeah. But it is really, it's fun. It's very big. Everything is like.
You have to drive everywhere.
You have to drive it. If
Yeah.
you don't have a car, you're fucked.
Yes, but, yeah.
To get from, so I was staying in Echo Park, and Reid was in Pasadena.
Okay.
To get there, I was looking it up on Google Maps. Driving was about like 17 minutes. It was almost an hour on public transportation.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and
Wow.
like they have buses and shit everywhere.
Yeah.
But it's just like not sustainable.
That's insane.
It's not helpful. It like takes a long
And don't
time.
they actually, part of the transit, they actually have a subway system, but people
So
are like,
apparently,
don't
but, like,
venture onto that.
I never saw it.
No.
I'm
You
not
never see it
fully
in
sure
movies,
that
you
it
don't-
exists.
Yeah,
you know?
It's a myth.
It reminded me a lot of Toronto because there's like different sections
Oh,
of it
yes,
where I was
that,
like,
yeah.
it's like Hollywood kind of feels like the West End. It feels like very like
Okay.
everyone like likes to go there, but it's kind of dirty as well. Like walking on like Hollywood Boulevard,
It is
it's, like,
only dirty, I would say.
it was kind of gross.
It's
but
pretty
like apparently
gross.
that's like very much the thing. It's like, oh, like no one actually likes to go there.
I know, and that's the irony of it. One, it being called Hollywood Boulevard.
Yeah.
Two, having the Hollywood stars there.
Yeah.
And three, doesn't Kimmel's show shoot there? So it's
Yes, I actually went to his show while I was there. It was the first show back once the writer's strike ended.
no way.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it was great.
I love. It's weird that Kimmel's like an elder statesman now. You know, he's been
Yeah.
around long enough. Like
Yeah.
Conan obviously is, but
Yeah.
he's now doing podcast stuff.
Yeah.
So I just mean on late night TV.
Yeah.
I like him. I have a soft
I
spot
love
for Jimmy Kimmel.
I don't know what it is, but
He's
no,
become more kind in like the
Yeah.
last 10 years or
Yeah.
something. But okay.
And I went to the Troubadour as well. I saw the Glorious Sons play the
Oh,
Troubadour,
no
which
way.
was very
That's cool. Do you know them, or you're just sort of a fan from
know
afar
them.
sort of thing?
Funny connection. One of my first ever assistant manager for my first retail job ever is married to the lead guitarist.
Oh, wow. What
Yeah.
a weird...
so random.
the any artistic scenes are actually so small
Yeah.
in Canada,
Yeah.
it feels like.
And like
yeah.
you know that the Toronto music scene, like everyone's connected. We're probably second or third cousins. you
yes,
know?
exactly. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
absolutely. It feels insanely
Yeah.
small.
But LA was really cool. Everyone's trying to make it there.
And
which
it's a
is
palpable
understandable.
energy there, right?
Like
It's-
I was at a cafe working on a couple of scripts, and everyone around me was working on their screenplay.
Yeah. I mean,
Like-
it's like a known
Yeah.
cliche
Yeah.
thing, right? That's where people go.
And I'm just like eavesdropping on their conversation where they're like, yeah, you know, I think the third draft should have more of like the protagonist
Right,
needs
right,
to do
right.
this on page 27. And I'm like, oh,
Classic.
like, guys, like, what the fuck are you talking
Yeah,
about?
if the twist doesn't happen by page 21, people
Yeah.
are going to turn.
Yeah, exactly.
No, absolutely. And that's so cool that everybody there, in a way, I think it's cool that people are very sort of nakedly ambitious there,
Yes.
because in Canada, to generalize, we have a bit of that English influence where we like to play
Yeah.
things close to the chest, and if anybody gets too famous,
Yeah.
we want to kind of take them
But
down
also,
a
I
peg.
find that everyone in Canada is like, oh, I'm going to eventually have to move to the States.
Yes, to make
Which,
it.
like, I don't think that's fully true. I don't think you have to
It's
move to the States.
It's never been less true. I think
Yeah,
it definitely it's fair that people used to think that.
Yeah.
But the industry is sort of, it seems like it's growing, maybe not from
Yeah.
funding.
Yeah,
But the
yeah.
internet has helped
The
create
internet
opportunities
has helped
essentially.
significantly.
Yes.
Yeah, like I have no plans on leaving Toronto. Like I fucking live here. I love it here.
But would you spend more time going to LA or New York or other
I
hubs?
think I would probably spend a little more time just to kind of establish more of a presence there.
Yeah, exactly.
But I would never want to live there. No disrespect to anybody in LA or New York. It's just
No.
too much for me.
Yeah, and also I feel like it's rarely a personal thing with
Yeah.
not wanting to live somewhere. You have an issue with the administration or just
Yeah.
with the way life is there or whatever.
I have no plans on going back to the States as of right now.
Exactly.
Unless something comes up where I'm like, I can't say no.
Unless there is another term. You know what I mean? We may have just seen a king take power.
Honestly, who fucking knows?
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I have no active plans on going to the States anytime soon.
Fair enough. And so, okay, then let's talk about Canadian other hubs. Like Montreal is a classic one. Vancouver is Hollywood North, air quotes.
Yeah.
So what about those?
I feel like Montreal specifically, if you're doing stand-up, I feel
course,
like that's
because
the spot.
well, just for laughs
JFL
until
and all that stuff.
It collapsed though, right? JFL is not it doesn't have.
Yeah, I think so.
I hope they find funding again, but
I
it
hope
was
so.
this like cornerstone of the stand-up community.
I also I'm not a fan of Quebec in general. I don't really know many people who are, but no disrespect. Yeah, I mean, Montreal. I do like Montreal.
Okay,
I like Montreal specifically. I've never been to Vancouver. I've actually never been west of Ontario.
Oh, you gotta go to Vancouver, man.
I know.
It
I need to
looks
go.
as good as everybody says, and it rains as much as everybody says.
True.
Yeah.
True. So I can't really speak on Vancouver. I like Montreal. Still, no plans on moving there either.
Right.
I would go to hang out.
You
when
like
my wife and
pockets
I
of
got
it.
married, we had a little mini moon in Montreal.
Oh, cool.
We went there for like a couple days.
I like the idea of a mini moon.
Yeah.
You don't need to do something if
No
you want
pressure.
to, sure, but the idea of no pressure and just going for a little smaller thing.
Yeah, because we actually got married right before COVID. Like we got married in October of 2019.
Wow.
So we were like, oh, let's just go to Montreal for a couple days, and then we'll go to like the south of France or something later, which we did end up doing years later.
I feel like as even the greatest relationships, if you had gotten married right before the pandemic, I would be concerned for that relationship, even if it was amazing going into it. You know what I mean?
No,
so, but it's clearly everything is going well. And
5 years. We've been together. It'll be, as a couple, we're having our 14 or 15 year anniversary in November, but we've been married for 5 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
No, that's great.
Crazy.
And I guess the last thing I wanted to talk about, which I give you a little warning on, is. And I think this relates to you even more than some of the other people I speak to on this podcast because you are sort of wrapped in fame in a way, is what you think about legacy. And I guess I explained to you the perspective, the context of this before off mic, but the context was, speaking of another Mike, the fight with Mike Tyson and Logan Paul. Mike Tyson lost. I saw an interview after, and he said, legacy means nothing to me. And I thought, okay, that's an interesting conversational jumping off point.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you would have asked me this question before social media was what social media was, I think I would have a very different answer for you.
Okay. Like if you were 31, but in 2005?
Yeah, because like I think legacy, regardless of what you do or who you are, I think it's almost more important now because everything is available.
Documented.
Everything's documented. Everything's out there.
Before, legacy was reserved for people who won wars or were major artists.
You would only really have a legacy if you like had something like that, where it's like
generational change.
Exactly.
In a way. Yeah.
Exactly. And I feel like now, like I haven't really thought about my legacy, but I subconsciously am aware that my legacy's out there.
Yes.
Like even when
once you gather a identity that is bigger than you in any way, that begins to 100%. Impact what your legacy will be, right?
Yeah. So I'm very aware of a legacy now. I still don't know if my legacy won't have as much of an impact as many others.
No, of course.
But I do think about it because really everything's documented.
Yes.
Everything is out there now. It's all being laid out on the table. That's social media now. It's like you're getting so many deep cuts and glimpses into people's lives that like even if you don't want to have a legacy, it's too fucking bad.
Yes,
you
that's
now
very
have
true.
one.
At least the size of your friend group and bigger, basically, yes.
If you've posted on TikTok, regardless of if you've had it go viral or whatever, if it's gotten 5 views or 5 million, you have a legacy.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And I just wondered if that affects how you're sort of steering the ship of your life.
I mean, I don't think it steers anything as of right now, but I am aware that it's something to be reminded of.
Right, when it wasn't in your mind 5 years ago.
Yeah, because like as like a teenager,
no, you don't think about anything.
You don't think about anything like that.
Yeah, that's the end of that sentence. You don't think about anything, actually.
But I am aware of it. I do think about legacy, but not in the sense that I'm going to let it overtake anything that I do.
Yeah, right. I guess good point. I don't. Yeah, when I said steer, I guess what I meant was just impact. But I don't want to.
Yeah.
Of course, you shouldn't live your life according to how you think you'll be remembered later.
Like my legacy is out there right now. I add to my legacy at least 3 to 4 times a week.
Yes,
whenever
and with this you are in a way.
Yeah, exactly. This is now added to the legacy.
Okay, well, this is. I have a last question, if you don't mind,
No,
and
of course.
it's related to this, and also comes from another thing that I just watched. One. Are you familiar at all with Andy Warhol, the artist? The Campbell's soup cans.
I'm
painter. Okay. I just watched a 4-part documentary on him that came out on Netflix. And one thing that he talked about, one thing that he's really famous for is coining the 15 minutes of fame thing. And I wanted to have your take on that because you entered in an arena where there are a lot of 15 minutes of fame people, maybe even more often than what we think about, like actors but you are not. You have sustained it.
Yeah.
And so I guess I'm just curious, one, if you think that's a correct take, that there are more 15 minutes of fame things happening there. And 2, obviously some of it was purposeful in the way that you were able to keep things going, but also I guess I just want to hear more about it based on that prompt.
Yeah. With regards to the 15 minutes of fame, I think more and more people are getting that 15 minutes.
Yeah,
but
it's like Andy Warhol called it like 40 years earlier, basically, than what happened. Yeah.
But I think with social media being what it is nowadays, like you can extend that time.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be 15 minutes.
Right.
And I think a lot of people don't really know how to extend it.
That's the thing. Yeah. Even if they want to.
Even if they want to. A lot of people don't want to, though.
Right. Which is fine.
Because think about all the people who go viral for just like a crazy video that they filmed with, like, they're not planning on like doing anything else with it.
Yes.
That's their 15 minutes. They don't want to extend it.
Right.
But
it's a roller coaster ride, and then they get off of that roller coaster.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then they're like, okay, like I'm just gonna like grab a drink and go home. You know?
Right.
I think the whole 15 minutes of fame is very fascinating. When I mentioned earlier, when I was younger, fame was like something I really wanted to capture, and then I grew up and I was like, I don't really care that much.
Yeah, you don't see it in the same way as
exactly.
well. Yeah.
And now that I'm in this moment of fame that has been extended way beyond 15 minutes. I'm now realizing how many people are still trying to find their 15 minutes.
Certainly.
And when they find it, it's very interesting to see who knows what to do with it. Like who knows how to extend it and who doesn't, which is very interesting.
Which is almost a reflection of if they understand why they're famous.
Yes.
Because I think sometimes we'll go, oh, I was viral for this thing. I was in a grocery store. It's a random thing.
Yeah.
But now I'm going to start a makeup line and it's totally unrelated.
It's like, now I don't know what the fuck is
exactly,
going on.
Exactly.
With my videos, like when I read all my comments, not all, but like as much as I can, because
it informs you it helps you understand the way outsiders see you.
Exactly.
Right.
And they're taking time out of their day to like and share and leave a comment. The least I could do is give them some time back.
Yeah, I guess that's true. That's a good point.
And people are giving personal stories in the comments where they're like, dude, like I've dealt with this so many times. Like, here's what's happening at my job right now. I'm fucking dealing with this shit and this
Which
and that.
is so crazy. Like, it's nice that people are taking that as an opportunity to reach out with something legitimate when it begins with just comedy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think I've managed to successfully extend my 15 minutes because I'm relating to them. I'm giving them a voice that they want to have. It's all these things. We want to say this at our job. We want to say this to customers or coworkers. We want to tell them to fuck off. You know, we want to do this. We want to quit on the spot and do whatever.
Yeah.
And people obviously can't. I mean, they can if they want, but it's, you know, who knows what'll happen after.
Yes.
But I want to give people a voice where it can be achieved, but it is not easy.
Yeah.
So seeing this is almost like a cathartic getaway.
Right. It's
And
like, oh,
because
somebody
of
else
that,
said it. Thank goodness.
Yeah. They're like, oh, like I feel less alone. Like, so I've had people message me being like, dude, like I was so ready to like quit my job, and seeing your videos made me stay because I realized that like I need to prepare more for like finding another job. Like I can't just quit. But, like, your videos have really given me like a peace of mind.
So would you say that's the best part of the weirdness of the parasocial relationship?
I think so. Yeah. Like, and going back to like when people come up and say, hey, like I love your videos, man.
Yeah.
Like, that makes me really happy.
Yeah. Right.
Because
of course.
I love that people feel comfortable enough to say, hey man, like you've made me feel better. Like your videos make my day or whatever it is.
And also it's like partially the reason that you got into it. Not to make people feel better, although I'm sure you were, that's a nice thing, but it's satisfying. It must be satisfying to hear the fact that they like the sketch comedy that you at the very beginning set out to do.
Yeah. That I've like poured my fucking heart and soul into. So to have someone be like, hey man, I really like your stuff.
Exactly.
Like I was out for a coffee with an old coworker of mine, like this was maybe a couple months ago. And as we were chatting, a guy just came up and he goes, hey, he's like, I don't mean to interrupt, but really big fan. Love what you do. I was like, thank you so much.
And that's the way
like,
to do it, right?
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it. And it makes me happy that I can make people happy with these 15 minutes.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think this was a really good chat. Thank you very much for coming on.